Well, this is a pleasant surprise. A week after what I thought was the final trailer for Dark Season 3, we get another one. I had planned on continuing my Religion and Mythology series next, but with the trailer coming out, I can't resist having a look at these new images and giving my initial thoughts on them. I'm not going to go into as much depth as I did in the previous trailer, because this contains a lot of the old stuff from Season 1 and 2 that we've already seen before. In fact, this trailer seems to be acting as a bit of a recap for the main themes as well as a sneak peek for the third season. It's a really good idea because there is a lot going on in Dark, and you want your audience to be as au fait with the story as possible before they come to watch the final season. This adds to the excellent work that the Dark Instagram page is doing by adding quizzes up to remind fans of key information. For this video, I'll focus on new stuff as well as anything else that I think is important or worth mentioning. Also, unlike the previous video, they will be in no particular order. The first thing I'm going to say is that the trailer begins and ends focusing on the disappearance of Mikkel. In my last video, I discussed the idea of Alt Mikkel being taken in the first episode of Season 3 in order to mirror the Season 1 when Prime Mikkel was taken. However, I also think it's possible that Season 3 will reveal the story of Alt Marta and the Alt World in reverse order, ending with Alt Mikkel being taken. This would fit with the advertising showing things moving in reverse, as well as the tagline for the series, "The end is the beginning." Speaking of my last video, I put forward the idea that Alt Mikkel is the mysterious figure in the desert in the Mad Max type world. I think the final shot of the trailer, Marta looking back at something from the cave in the desert world, supports this idea. A lot of the imagery being shown evokes the disappearance of Mikkel. For example, the suicide note Michael Kahnwald leaves, the police cars arriving in the forest when Mikkel gets taken. After all of this imagery of Mikkel going missing and we get this shot of Marta looking back from the cave at the mysterious figure, who I have theorized is Alt Mikkel, could this be viewed as Mikkel returning? There's also a shot of the Alt gang in the forest, on what I assume is the equivalent to the night Prime Mikkel went missing. They look like they're reacting to the loud noise coming from the cave, just like that happened in the Prime world. Does this mean that one of the characters here does get taken as well, like Mikkel did? Potentially, I suppose. Well, we know it isn't Bartos, Francisco, and Magnus, because we saw images of them in the trailer, still in the world at the same time that the Alt Apocalypse happens. Could it be the new member of the gang? The boy from the play in Season 1, and Eric Obendorf's brother, which has been confirmed. Not sure. Perhaps his family plays a bigger role in the story than we think. After all, Alexander Tiedemann seemed to include his father in some dastardly deeds in Season 1. We get a shot of the Kahnwald house in the Alt world, or I suppose it could be called the Nielsen house, because it seems that this is the house that Katarina takes the kids to after Ulrich and her break up. A cool touch seems to be that Mikkel's room is actually Michael Kahnwald's art studio loft from the Prime world. Perhaps Ulrich and Hannah lived together in the Nielsen house in the Alt world. Maybe they had a child together. I'll be going into this more in my general theories video, and I'm going to focus more on parentage, which should be interesting. Jonas is straight away after that shown looking at his old family home, or I assume he is, in the Alt world. It seems a way to tell the Alt world from the Prime world is this fog that's around. I don't necessarily think we'll get an explanation for the fog. I think that just might be a choice they made to have the weather like that in the Alt world so we know the difference. We then get a shot of the new trio that we've seen before of them burning down Adam's lair. It then focuses in on the family pictures on the wall Adam has. Is this alluding to the theory that a lot of people have, that the main four families are a result of the rift in time? Perhaps it's symbolic of the Eve-like character, who we know the trio work with, wanting to fix time and therefore the existence of all these families will end as well. It is also not lost on me that the flames are fully covering the middle panel of the photo wall. What are they trying to hide? Is this not in the Prime world? Has something changed on the pictures? Maybe one of the members of the family is in a different family. Who knows? Anything could happen. We get a shot of 3 people in yellow hazmat suits in what I assume is 2053. If I was to guess who the characters are, I'd say Elizabeth, Celia, and Charlotte based on the previous trailer. Then we have a shot which seems to confirm that Charlotte has indeed travelled to 2053 due to the white stuff that floats and it's in her hair. Is this shot of Fields from 1954, 1921, 1888? Not sure. I assume the young travellers will travel back to 1888 and this is where they'll start making the dark matter machine. I also think this because each series seems to grow out 33 years into the future and into the past. Does this mean that the desert-like world is actually the year 2086, 33 years after the post-apocalyptic world we've already seen? Then Hannah is having a St. Christopher pendant put around her neck by a policeman in the year 1954. Everyone seems to think this is Egon due to her telling Egon that she would hang around in 1954 for a while. There's also a couple of pictures of the characters together. However, the fact that we don't see the face needs to be noted here. It could be Daniel Kahnwald, Enos's father. Either way, I think Hannah is going to have some sort of interaction with a young Enos. Maybe Hannah tells Enos that she needs to adopt Mikkel, and Enos becomes aware of time travel in some way. This would perhaps explain why she acts so strangely in terms of giving Mikkel drugs and she really, really wants to keep him. A lot of people think Enos might be involved in Sic Mundus in some way. My gut tells me she isn't. I think that her strange actions in Season 2 are going to be informed by her relationship with Hannah in 1954. She knows something, but I just don't think it's through the Sic Mundus channel. I think it might be from Hannah. Also, this could be a contributing factor to the lack of communication between Hannah and Enos in 2019 in Season 1. Maybe Enos just really, really dislikes Hannah from those times. Who knows? Also, the other night when I was talking to my wife about the show, she came up with an absolutely amazing theory, which I do believe will happen.
I can't see Hannah being the type to be careless enough to drown in the lake, so I'm really thinking that she's probably going to end up being murdered by drowning in the lake. And I feel like the only person who would hate Hannah enough to murder her is Ulrich.
I personally love this theory. It would be an excellent climax to the story of Hannah and Ulrich. It would also be a huge, mind-blowing, amazing moment. It would also add a further bit of depth to the old Ulrich in Season 2 in 1986, because at the time, he would have already murdered Hannah. So the whole way through Season 2, we were actually watching the man who killed Hannah without even knowing. Brilliant theory. Another thing worth mentioning quickly is a lot of people think that Hannah will have a child in 1954, with Egon or Daniel Kahnwald, either one. She's 46 when she travels back. 46. I don't think so. If there's to be another Hannah child in Dark, I think it's going to come from the old Hannah, in my opinion. Although there is another shot of her and Egon, so maybe I'm wrong about everything I've just said. We get confirmation that Adam makes it to 2053, where he may trigger a second apocalypse, which would turn the world into the desert wasteland, I presume. 2 shots are shown implying that Claudia has Alt Marta's dimension-skipping device. Perhaps Claudia makes this after the apocalypse, after carrying out all of her tests. Maybe she finds or has access to broken versions of a time machine, somehow. Maybe she uses parts of this to make this device. Very little has been shown about Claudia's storyline so far, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Old Helga is shown with a scarred eye rather than an ear this time. Did Ulrich beat him as a child, like the trailer is implying? Someone is shown holding the St. Christopher pendant. Not quite sure who this could be. Could be Jonas, or maybe someone in the post-apocalyptic world like Elizabeth. Stranger Jonas is shown looking at something bright, judging by the light flashing in his eyes. It could be dark matter finally being created, or it could also be someone traveling away with the dimension-skipping device. In what is sure to be an emotional scene, we get Katarina visiting old Ulrich in 1986. We know it's Katarina based on the clothes matching previously released images. Also, the chessboards are in the asylum. Look at Katarina's nails. This implies that it's not been an easy time for her in the time between Season 2 and 3. We get a tantalizingly short clip that shows a character closing a book with an image of a Minotaur from the story of Ariadne that has been alluded to many times in Season 1 and 2. It's also the topic for my next video in my series on religion and mythology in Dark. Immediately, I can't help but notice the similarity it has to the illustration in the book that Elizabeth is reading, and also the picture on the wall that's in Adam's lair. The picture where 2 worlds are in half darkness, and they're being blown into the center to form a new world. In this image, it seems that the Minotaur in the labyrinth is in the middle of the 2 worlds in half darkness. Could this mean that in order to achieve the new world in the middle, the Minotaur must first be slain? I'll try to unpack this a little more in my religion and mythology series. The rock, shown here, which I assume is the one that Ulrich used to kill Helga, well, he tried to kill Helga, the rock shown falling up in a reverse shot. I assume this is symbolic of the quest to correct time and as such prevent this event from happening, and a lot of other events obviously. So there you go, that was a nice little surprise. I'm sure I missed something. If I did, let me know in the comments. The final season is approaching fast. I'm going to try to release at least 2 more videos before it comes out, but we'll see how I get on. Until then, catch you later.